Good
Hello,
afternoon,
Jason.
everybody.
How are you doing, Jason?
Hi, Hemel. How are you?
Really good, really good. Nice to see you. So I think, Jason, I've asked you at least 3 or 4 times to come and speak with us or at least a couple of times on a couple of events. So I'm glad to finally snag you third time lucky. We put on 3 trades and the third one's profitable. So firstly, just a big thank you for being on here with us. And I'm really excited to speak with you. And I think a lot of the people who are new to trading, exploring trading for the first time, or really considering it as a career, will find this absolutely beneficial and insightful. So thank you for being here, firstly.
I'm not sure I have too many encouraging words to start this as a career, but I'm definitely happy to share some advice and some warnings and my experience. And most interested in seeing the questions in the chat.
Brilliant. Yeah, we can take some of those as well. So yeah, Jason, so I mean, maybe first will be great just to hear a little bit about you. And reality, of course, is needed here because it is a difficult art. But tell us about you, Jason, and your history. I know we first met many years ago, maybe 2 decades ago, more than 2 decades ago.
Jesus, don't say that.
Your early years in the markets, or kind of your background, where you came from, and a little bit about you.
Sure, I've got a few prepared words to kick us off, so I'll read through those, and hopefully those spark some more interesting stories and get the juices flowing on the people who are watching. So I'll just read my few notes, and if you guys get bored, let me know. I know I look a little old to be a trader, but I'm still trading every day. I'm at the screens for the EU, American, and part of the Asian sessions. I'm usually trading until 10 o'clock midnight every night at the coal face and grinding it out today and for the past 25 years, which is hard for those words to go past my lips, but that's the story. A bit about me to solidify my credentials for all your viewers here. I started trading back in the late 90s. I started as a clerk on the floor before there was electronic trading, and quickly realized that the floor was not an environment for me. I think folks that were on the floor, if they weren't trading on the floor, they would have been driving taxis or delivering pizzas, and I was straight out of college with all these high-minded intellectual pursuits, and very much correctly or incorrectly thought that environment wasn't for me. So I quickly went onto the electronic trading route, and as luck would have it, trading, I think, on the floor, at least in London, about a year, 2 years after I was there, ended. I've traded dozens, if not hundreds of different products in my career through every kind of volatility. September 11th, the Great Recession, Greek crisis, COVID, negative oil prices, which was a first for I think for every trader, seeing a price go negative on an actual outright product. People were paying other people to take the oil as well as get the oil. So you get money and oil when prices were negative. It was very strange. The Ukraine war, attacks on nuclear facility in Ukraine, and most recently central bank rate increases and everybody's favorite April event, Trump's tariffs. What was that day called? Liberation Day.
Right.
The second part of my job is I hire and train and mentor inexperienced and experienced traders at my firm, which means I've seen every disaster, every miracle, every meltdown, every comeback, and every personality type in this industry. I've trained college grads from nothing to 6-7 figure traders, and a few even beyond that. I love seeing noobs transform into superstar traders. If maybe a few of you could text into or comment into the group so I get an idea of what type of people are watching. Maybe the number of years of experience you've got and the type of trader. Just a couple words, not too many, because I know there's a lot of people watching. thousands of people, right, Hemel?
Yeah, just as we're setting out, I mean, maybe you could kind of just talk to that. Like, I remember reading some of your LinkedIn posts maybe a few years ago where you spoke about.
Only you, Hemel, only you.
Well, I really like them, and you spoke about kind of what it takes for the trading, like, you know, because obviously you're putting in that hard time, labor, effort, energy, and you wrote about like kind of, you know, what it takes from a mindset perspective for a trader. What is that like? You know, what is that secret sauce, if there is one?
To be honest, I think there's three ingredients. You need to be in the right environment, and surrounded by people that can put the right stuff in front of you. And that means being on a trading floor somewhere, on a bank. It means being at a prop firm or an algo firm, somewhere that's a professional trading environment. So you have to get good training. The next is to have enough time for it all to come together. And I think time is probably the most expensive of all the elements. And then I think you've got to be the right type of person. And those three things together can put you down the road to a successful career.
But what is the right kind of person?
Well, that depends on the type of trading that you're doing. You know, an algo trader, an HFT trader are a lot different from seat of the pants kind of trading like I do. You've got position traders, you got swing traders, you got you know, whatever number of personalities there are, there's a different type of trading. I've got people that are super defensive, make consistent, regular money, but don't really blow it out of the sky, and they have a very low stress trading life. I've got guys that take huge risk, make big numbers, but you know, gray hairs are popping out of their heads, you know, by the second. So it really depends. It depends on your personality type.
That's interesting. Okay, there is one question that we've got come in. Where do you recommend for resources outside, like you said, a trading firm or a prop firm? Where can a person go? Like, imagine they're an independent retail trader. They don't have that environment.
Historically, I would have said, you know, go on the internet and Google, because there's pretty good lists of things to read. I think reading all the main books that are recommended by the energy, but now it's you know, you go onto any of the AI apps and you just type in exactly what you typed in there, Jay, and you will get a very good list of different stuff. I'll tell you my three favorite books that I go back to again and again. Market Wizards, the original one, and Unknown Market Wizards, which is, I think, one of the most recent ones. Alpha Trader is probably one of the most technical available books out there. But these are books, you know, so they kind of, you know, their lessons are historical, and their lessons are kind of long living, but they're not up to date and recent in terms of actual market behavior. And market behavior is changing, getting faster, every year, getting more competitive. But their lessons still hold. And then probably the fun book is Liar's Poker, but doesn't have a lot of advice. And then a little less fun, but has better advice is One Good Trade. But the resources are there. You just got to spend time. And for the AI question, you know, you just type it in. I want to be a professional trader. What are the sources that I need to be on top of this game?
So in terms of like from the beginning, I mean, 20 plus years ago, what are the key differences now for you on a practical, personal level, and those around you that you're facing from then to now? Are you still doing the same stuff? Has it evolved? Has it changed completely? What's your approach like? Are you still finding that things that you did back then still work, or has it completely transformed?
So looking back is always 2020. And if I knew the stuff I knew trading today, back when I first started, I'd be a lot more successful. Back in the day, it was a lot lower volume, a lot slower, fewer algos. It was a point and click world. You know, news would come out, you could think about it, and then you could trade it. Now news comes out and it's instantly in the price. But that being said, algos make mistakes. Computer programs make mistakes and create inefficiencies in the market. So it's trying to figure out where those mistakes are being made, and behind every algo is a human or a set of humans, and humans make mistakes as well. So there's still, I would say it was easier back then, but easier to make smaller money. Now it's harder, but the opportunity is much bigger.
That's interesting. So can you not now like just watch the market? You hear some news come out and then jump on the trade and then kind of be in an outright direction?
No, algos are instantly gobbling that up, instantly gobbling it up. You have to figure out if you want to keep going with the follow through, or if you want to fade it, or you look for a pullback. But I mean, no event happens in the same way. They're similar, but it's that edge is long gone. I think that worked until about 2008, if even that, and then all the algos piled in.
That's interesting. And for those who don't know, what do you mean by fading it?
Oh, fading is going against the trend. So some news comes out and market makes a move, and then you think the move is slowing down, and you fade it and you go the other direction.
Okay.
But that's a tough trade. I think the expression is timing isn't everything on that trade. Excuse me, timing isn't the only thing on that trade. It's everything.
I've heard quite a few expressions here on this kind of fading strategy. There's quite a few questions that are coming in here. In fact, I'm losing them. So there's one that asks, what's your internal monologue on incidents like September 11th? How do you manage the emotional conflict between?
Yeah, that's probably a unique event in that you are bowled over by the actual situation that's unfolding in front of you, but it's also providing immense opportunity because of the volatility. My style of trading, at least, the more volatile an event, generally the better the trades are. Not because necessarily I'm selling the market, but just because I think the expression is the markets in a bull market go up the stairs, and in a bear market they go down the elevator shaft. So in a bull market, you might have, let's say, 10 opportunities to make 3 prices in a day. That's 300 prices. Whereas in a bear market, you have 30 opportunities to make 10 prices. So you're making, the multiples are much greater in terms of the size of the trade, the distance that it goes, and the number of opportunities you get in a day during volatility. So when September 11th was unique in that we were all gobsmacked and mouths on the floor at what was actually happening. But then you have the excitement of most people to that date. It was probably their most successful day trading up until that point.
That's interesting. Where were you on September the 11th?
I was sitting in an Italian restaurant having a lazy lunch, and my risk manager called. I think he's actually potentially in the audience here. And he said, you probably might want to come back to the office. Something just happened in New York. And I started walking back to the office, paid the bill, started walking back to the office. And then it's the first time I have ever done it, and the only time I've ever done it. I just started running back to the office. And he didn't tell me like a plane went into the building or anything. I don't know what it was that made me run. And I ran back to the office, got upstairs into my desk on Leeson Street above a nightclub. That's where the firm was in Dublin, and started trading, and immediately lost money. Had to call my risk manager up and say I lost money. And he said, no problem, just get back in there. Here's your new limit. And I got back in there, and after it was my worst start and worst day to date, losing the first 10 minutes or so. And it was when the second plane came, and I didn't have a TV in the office. We only had the news screens, so I didn't hear or see the TV go into the airplane go. The second airplane hit, and then for the rest of the day and the following day were my best days to my career, and for probably a year or two after that.
So, yeah, that was a difficult time, and I remember I was actually getting on a train at King's Cross at the time, and I got a call from the office saying, "Where are you? This is taking place," and
Mm.
kind of had to find our way there safely. It was a traumatic time, but yeah, I think that's life as well, isn't it? That when these things happen, the opportunities also arise at the same moment, and it's neither good or bad. It's just the reality of the thing. Like we saw it with
You're just
COVID.
doing your job.
Yeah. I mean, someone's asked a cheeky question. They're saying, how much money can you make in a in a short time? Look, maybe I kind of rephrase that question to you. Is like when you're talking to a new trader now, and this might be how long's a piece of string kind of question. How much can what's the opportunity here? Like, should I just become a YouTuber and Instagrammer and not look at trading good bobble chats that we might have done 20 years ago? What's the opportunity for new market participants now? I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see huge amounts of new traders coming into the space and seeing, you saw a lot of old faces, good people, very talented people, but you didn't see a whole birth of new talent coming in into the markets over there. What's the opportunity for new people wanting to get into markets now?
I'd say the opportunity is greater now than it has ever been because the markets are bigger and more volatile. But you've hit kind of on the biggest problem in the industry in terms of creating new traders is that most firms, it's a highly risky proposition, and very difficult for the trainee trader coming into the space. It takes longer now. I remember like the first trainees I had were live and trading immediately because there was no simulation and profitable within 6 months. I think a couple of guys might have been 4 or 5 months. And where now you've got nothing after 4 or 5 months. People are on sim for us at least for 9 months to 18 months, and then
Wow.
you're into the live environment. So the process is much longer. The opportunity is much bigger. And a lot of firms just aren't training people anymore. I think most of the training is taking places in lower salaried destinations where a firm can afford to hire a class of trainees. Whereas in most of the sort of Western countries, a trainee trader looks at the salary that is being offered and just thinks I can go do 101 different things that'll make me a better salary. The only difference is that if you can figure this out, and again, it takes 2 or 3 years to get to that point. I mean, you have positive marks along the way. You have positive, feedback that you're doing the right thing. But again, I think our average trader is, taking home 100 to 200. And that's probably below average. And then the average ones are, somewhere mid six figures, and we have plenty of traders that are high six figures and seven figures, and on big years can be even more. So the opportunity is there. It's a life-changing career, but it
Mm.
is harder now than it's ever been. And
Yeah.
I think traders are faced with so many choices on how to start that career. They hear those numbers, and I think you should ignore the numbers and really think about the process that it has to go through, both the time, the commitment, and then your interest in the career. If you don't have the interest and the passion to stick with it, because it's not a 1 to 3 year gig. It's the real money is made. All the most solid traders all make that money, many years out into the future. So, at 3 years, you're convinced that the career is for you and you're showing that kind of progress, but it's not till 5, 6, 7 that people are making the big bucks. And you got to think, okay, is there any other job or any other career or any other business that I could start or do that would in 6, 7 years, be making me that kind of dough? It's a career that you can get rich in, but it's not a career that you get rich fast in. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing that really pulls people in. That's, I think, then also the proliferation of the kind of pay to play new proprietary trading firms. There's some nickname they have. I don't want to besmirch the sponsor, but that people are seeing those kind of firms and seeing the payouts that some of their clients are getting. And yeah, it's real, but your chances are 1 in 100 to make it big. And I think that's kind of the decision that people should be looking at is, do you want to take the risk on being 1 in 100, or do you want to be in a place where your chance is 5 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 or something where we hire a class and our success rate is 5, 6, 7 people out of 10. 7 is great. And then, 3 or 4 is not great. And we've had, I think in 2017, we had a class where nobody came good. But those chances are still miles higher than, 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 100 that your chances if you're trying to do this job by yourself in your underwear in your bedroom, after work for 2 hours every day, or even 3 hours, or even the rest of the evening. Like it's a really hard job, and your chances are really slim if you're trying to do this on your own, even with paying for educational packets and all that stuff.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with you. When I first started, we were really lucky because we just there was an arbitrage that was, inline mean reversion strategy. It was just going
Yeah,
up.
you'll never figure that out as a random person trying to figure this out. Like that's the benefit of going to a firm, is the firm's got a packet of different strategies that they can just drop you into, and then they teach you how to find that edge as well, not just giving you the edge. But that's why you go to a firm. But then the opposite side of that is, at the firm, you are expected to share those profits, and because you're getting that knowledge. And if you were to try and do it on your own, you wouldn't have to share with anybody, because and you get 80-10 or 80-20 or 90-10 or whatever the profit shares are on those profit on the pay to play places. I'm conscious that there are a lot of good questions coming through here, and I could talk to you all day long, but it might be good to get some of the questions.
Here's one. There's somebody that actually applied to Positive and hopes to get the chance to train under you. During the interview,
in Croatia or in Ireland?
I think Ireland. I can't actually. My messages scrolled down, but I can see. So what do you? I learned from Jason White. Is it Jason?
John White.
John White. The name's there. Jay White. I've learned that traders at Positive don't rely on technical analysis for forecasting. So what do you recommend traders to use to make buy sell?
I wouldn't say that's true. There's I mean, the two classics are technical analysis and price action versus fundamental analysis. And I think in the beginning, we didn't focus so much on fundamental analysis, and now it's an absolute part of the process. It's price action. I would say I and I can't speak for every trader, but I rely a lot more on momentum, and momentum is one of the things that are in technical analysis. So looking at price momentum, but combine that with news is I don't think one is exclusive of the other, and it's really the combination that sees most of our traders being the most successful. I don't think you can trading on levels anymore is not the way it used to. You used to be able to trade on a level. If it was an even number, you could sell in front of it. If it broke it, you buy on the other side. But levels now are so fluid. There's so many participants going through that I don't think levels hold. So in that regard, technical analysis, I'm not a huge fan, but I think it's pieces of, you got to figure out what works for you on technical analysis. And as an individual trader, you don't have access to a lot of fundamental news. I mean, you've got more now than you've ever had before, but still, you get it late. So it's a trickier proposition, whereas the technical analysis, it's staring at you. But each has its drawbacks.
Just a follow up to that, if somebody did want to train with you or be a part of the team at Positive, what's their approach? What would you advise them?
Unfortunately, most people I imagine on this call wouldn't be able to. We're only allowed to hire European nationals because of all the protectionist employment regulations in Europe, not my own preference. So generally, people in Ireland and Croatia are the only real candidates because you're local, and we don't do a remote training. We do a remote internship, but that's generally for people that we want to hire, and we do those in the summer. So there's an internship, and then there's a training program, and then we can hire people who have that are not from the EU that have trading experience and have a track record that we can get through. But otherwise, it's really just people that are local to where we are. Unfortunately, I know that's not great for your listeners.
No problem. Okay. And so just to do a little bit quicker so we can kind of get a few in, has technology changed over your trading? Has technology changed your trading style over time? I know you mentioned about the algos coming in and so on. I can still see some ladders behind there, which kind of is that trading technologies that you're using, TT systems, or is it one of those kind of similar systems? Have you changed the tools you're using?
You know, there are more tools, and I think there are more tools for a variety of different things. But I have, largely I use Excel a lot more. I use auto spreading a lot more. But I've used those for years, and I think the thing that's changed the most is news, and kind of tools that are available to people. But I'm using AI, but yeah, I use the AI stuff for research, not for trading. Um, AI is good when you're looking at a new product or something and you want to try and figure out how it ticks and what you need to know about it. Um, some news interpretation, but not even that really. But AI is probably the most recent one, and I say AI, it's just one of the chat bots that tells you what you want to know about a certain exchange or a product or something.
Sure. I've kind of noticed that around the world when we've met people, we ask often, commonly, how are you using AI for your trading? And that seems to be like very few people are actually using it for the trading
No,
decisions.
I don't see it. But that being said, it's a new generation's tool, and whereas I'm 50 and I've got my way of trading, I think it's that tool is available really for people who haven't traded before and are trying to find their edge. And they're the biggest firms in the world right now are all high frequency and algo related type firms. They're not the speculator point and click trader that you guys are looking at.
Yeah. Okay. A couple more, just briefly. I think we've got one question which asks, during these significant events, modern history, did you ever break your trading rule? I think you mentioned it around September the 11th as well, but your trading
Break a
rule.
trading rule, yeah, sure, yeah. So that's the difference between new people and old people, or people with new experience and people with lots of experience. I think the answer is you should never break your rules. But the difference between less experience and more experience is when you have more experience, you need to know when to break your rules. And So in general, if you're starting out, don't break your rules, stick to your limits, all that stuff. But there are times and there are scenarios when, yeah, of course, you the right call is to not get out of the trade or to add more size than what you're supposed to have on. But these are very much the exception than the rule. And I broke my rules last night on a trade, and I got overconfident in a trade and just held it underwater because I thought at one point it was going to turn. And
What were you trading?
Emil, not to ask that question.
I can ask, you don't have to answer. So was it a situation where you were tired? Was it late? Was it kind of like what?
Overconfident. I had 4 or 5 days of just killing this one trade, and just took on more heat than I would normally do because of my level of confidence in the trade, and it just didn't work. And I've been expecting it to come, but I just could have handled it better and been a lot tighter on my stops and a lot tighter on decreasing the size of my position when it wasn't going with me at the times I expected it to be going with me.
I mean, I find it remarkable that you've been so consistent for so long, and being able to kind of continue to play the sport of trading in that way. What's your advice to, kind of final advice to a new person setting out on this journey, starting out, like from your whole career in markets, which is, still going strong? What's your advice to the new starter who's just coming in? Like, just kind of like, to summarize, we've had quite a lot in this conversation, and we could probably speak for a few hours on it.
With pleasure. Surround yourself with other successful people. Do not do this on your own. You might be able to do it on your own for X period of time, but it is much harder, and your success, the chances of success are just much smaller. And I think that's part of the reason why I started the firm, was that I've always believed that surrounding yourself and being around other smart people always make you better at what you're doing. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a company, right? Is that the company is a better solution than one person trying to figure something out by themselves. In terms of specifics of staying relevant, this is a conversation with your spouse. Your significant other and your family need to know the rules of how you trade, and what time you trade, and when you can be bothered, when you can't be bothered. And you need to have a disciplined schedule that you stick to. If you are trading, 8 o'clock in the morning one day, and then 2 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, and then 10 p.m. the next day, and you've got no, rhythm to your schedule, you can't really see what's going on in the market. So you need to have committed time in front of the screens that is uninterrupted, and that your family supports. If you've got responsibilities, you've got to figure out how to make them work, have an understanding spouse, and that's a long-term one. If you're single, you got every hour of the day to put into this. And I think it's a lot. That's why a lot of people see this as a younger person's game, is because when you got every hour in the day to put behind it, it's a lot easier because you can stay relevant. But once it gets time, you got family pressure, kids pressure, and this is stuff that I don't think many of the people in your audience are going to identify with. But at that point, you've got to really juggle it and do it right, without everybody understanding your limitations and what you can do and when you can't do it. It's a really hard schedule to stay on. And the schedule is essential. It's, everybody's read in the books, watch the tape. That's the secret to success. Watch the tape. Watch the tape means being at the screen and watching the markets, so that you learn the markets, you see when things are not the way they should be, or you see a blip in something, or you see a trade show up and you're there to take advantage of it. If you're not there and you don't have the time in front of the screens, and you're wasting it on phone calls and conferences, then you're not going to see what happens on the screen. So you really need to be at the screen, and it's a simple thing, and people think it's just it's a stupid, overused piece of advice.
Right.
When you are at the screens, you see the opportunities. I think there's some quote, I can't remember who did, maybe it was Ford or something, and he said opportunities are dressed up in work clothes, and that makes most people miss those opportunities because it just looks like too hard work. So being at the screen, and staying relevant, having a reliable schedule, and being surrounded by a lot of smart people, you get those three things right, and you got a big part of the battle taken care of.
There is one more question, but I think you've already kind of answered it there, like what you would tell your first year self, what advice you'd give if you were starting out, which is kind of similar to what you've just answered, but maybe I could just kind of frame it slightly differently. What would you do it again? Do you still love the markets? Do you still love trading?
Would I do it again? The hard thing about, and this is not going to help your watchers at all. The hard thing about a trading profession is that, besides my training people, I'm not producing anything besides money and let's say grads, who, and this is a life-changing career. Like, I've got 5 guys in another room who have just started a month ago, and they are beginning down the path to a potentially life-changing career, in one that doesn't really happen anywhere except for maybe professional sports, or some of these TikToker type professions are also kind of launching, but it's one where it's complete. I don't want to say it's completely down to you, but the environment you're put in and the effort after a certain amount of time can really change your life or your kids' lives, and it's a real generational potential wealth building career. That being said, every smart person that starts working with me is one less smart person working on maybe the cure for cancer, or some big engineering solution for traffic, or some other real world impacting career. So would I do it again? I don't know. It was kind of happenstance that I came into it, and I was good at it, and stayed good at it, and it's been a great life for me. I don't know, off the top of my head, hard It's not 100% clear. Hard question.
Well, I appreciate you sharing so honestly and kind of doing that. And look, I also feel that the skill sets that people generate through the process of going through this, would they stay in trading or not? Like, even if they've
Yeah,
been
I
in
definitely
a
wouldn't
year
get
or two.
hired. The skill sets that we look for these days and the degrees that we look for and the performance from the people that we look for in terms of before we hire them. I don't think I'd even have a chance or choice of whether I wanted to do this career.
Yeah.
But it's different in every shop. Like every firm has a different criteria for the types of people they hire, and ours, we look for people who are competitive in some sort of competitive activity, but then have also had an amazing technical degree, of math or physics or something that's dealt with statistics. But then my first trader that I ever hired was a hotel management professional. And that was a history of hard work. That dude was a hard worker, and like he just did what needed to be done. So, I think it depends on the type of person and what type of trading career you want to go after. And different firms hire different personalities. But I still recommend that anybody watching this today really try to get with a firm, because that is going to be your highest chance of
Thank you.
of actually becoming successful in the career.
No, super appreciate you being here and taking the time off the desk to be here. Sneha, I can see, has come and kick us off. And
Yeah, I see her there.
next one. I have one last thing I wanted to ask you. What's your release? I mean, like, when I was interviewed for becoming a trader at the beginning, they said, okay, what's the thing that you do outside of the markets to help you release? So just like, if you could briefly, what's the thing that you do?
I beat my wife.
Delete that part from the conference, please, everyone. Okay.
I do a lot of sports. I play basketball a few times a week.
Okay.
I do love video games. I don't like the new version of video games where where it's never ending. But I like heads up. I play Call of Duty and
Call of
those
Duty.
kind of
Okay.
heads up shooting games. And then my kids and my wife.
Family.
Yeah, it's snowboarding. That's sports, really sports with my family. That's real, the endorphins and just the little bit of competitiveness and being outside, doing something, getting the body moving. Sports
Amazing.
is a real big part of our lives.
Jason, thank you so much for being here and kind of taking the time off the desk to be with us.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it, and hope to have you in person at one of our forums soon as well. So take care.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Well, that was an interesting conversation with Jason and Hemil. I believe we can stay here for hours. Honesty and the lessons that you've shared with us here today. So thank you so much.
Bye-bye.